Stampers. This is Kim Jolley from Springfield, Missouri. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today we're going to be talking about this new Waterfront stamp set from Stampin' Up! It is available in the 2018 Occasions catalog. I have to tell you, when I first saw this, I got so excited because if you follow my blog or have seen any of my other videos, you will know that I adore all things watercolor, or at least things that look like watercolor. So this set really makes it easy. I have posted a few of these in some groups online and have had some real positive response from them. I'm going to show you how to easily recreate these. Actually, we're going to start with this one today for this video. This is kind of a stormy scene. And by the way, just a note, I don't normally just make these scenes up out of my own head. I find a reference photo. Now, the piece of artwork that I used as a reference photo for this was on Instagram. I'm going to put the link to that below this video. The artist was kind enough to not mind if I used her photo, actually painting, as a reference photo. So we are going to get started. I am using a piece of watercolor paper that is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. Now, I suggest for the best results to use a high quality watercolor paper. Stampin' Up! Has a very high quality watercolor paper, but if you're going to use another watercolor paper, I would suggest at least 140 pound. It does make a difference in your finished product. So watercolor paper, water soluble black ink. That's very important. It has to be water soluble. Memento works for this. Bermuda Bay, Tangerine Tango, Emerald Envy, Pumpkin Pie, and Crushed Curry. Now you can tailor this, of course, any way you would like with your own colors, but these are the ones I used for this project. These are the stamps we're going to be using. Basically this one, this one, this one, and this one. And I've got my aqua painter out here. It does have water in the reservoir. However, I wanted just a little more control over how much water I'm using, so I'm actually going to be dipping this in a little bit of water I have. Okay, we're going to start with the Memento black ink. We're going to do some stamping up here. We're going to stamp repeatedly because we're going to make this stormy sky rolling in. Okay, I'm going to clean that now. Because we're going to move on to our next color of Bermuda Bay. Actually, you know what? A little more black up here. Okay, that's better. You'll still need your Memento here in a few minutes. Okay, now with the Bermuda Bay, we don't want it as dark as the first stamped image will be, so we're going to stamp off at least once, maybe twice. Okay. And then I want to come back in with this image, and I want to go ahead and go across the bottom to create a little bit of a more marked horizon line. This just has a little straighter edge than the other one. Okay. This is actually a really quick scene to create. So I would suggest you keep a paper towel handy in case you get just a little bit too much water. All we're doing is really softening this to make it look like it was painted on. It's quite simple, actually. It's okay if that runs, because basically the blend is what makes it look a little more cloud-like. Leave some white spaces. Okay. going to dry that with my heat tool. And looking at the other card I made, I've got a little more black here, so I'm actually going to do that right now. I'll use that image. Again, coming back in with a little bit of water. It's not that it mattered that much, I just really liked the way that looked with that little bit more black in there. Okay, I'm going to be using this stamp again. Just make sure it's clean. I'm just using a baby wipe. Going to start with Tangerine Tango. Going to overstamp that just a little bit. Okay, clean that off. Going to move on to Pumpkin Pie. I'm overstamping or overlapping these just a bit. Crushed curry. Okay, now that I've got those 3 colors in there, make sure your brush is clean, which is clear water. We're going to soften those. It's okay if the black runs a little, it just looks like the clouds. Again, clouds rolling in. We're just softening it, we're not overworking it. Okay, this is the stamp we're going to use next with Emerald Envy. We're going to make what looks like the water or lake in this scene. Going to ink it up. I'm going to place it, just about there. Okay. Going to do the same thing with this image as we did with some of the others, which is soften it. Now I probably got just a little too much water there because it really changed the way the shading looks on that, but we're going to come back with a gel pen here in a little bit and add in some more shading. Next step, we're going to be using the exact same stamp, so make sure it's clean. And your Memento black ink. And we're basically going to just fill in this bottom. And I know it's going to look a little bit strange at first. And you're going to think this isn't going to work, but it does. All of the natural shading in this stamp actually really helps the finished product. There's really no rhyme or reason about how I'm placing these. Now I'm going to come back in with a little bit of water and soften these. But if you'll notice, all of that shading kind of makes it look like natural contours on the land. If you see any spots up here you think need softened, this is a good time to do that. Now for the trees. Now these trees for this scene were too tall. So what I'm going to do is just ink up the top portion. And I'm going to stamp. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp a second time so it can look like trees are further back. And ink it up again. Stamp. Stamp again. Okay. Now I wanted the trees to be just a little softer also. So I just kind of went over them with my brush. For my next step, I'm going to take a white gel pen and I'm going to add in some highlights. The first thing I'm going to do is give a few highlights in the sky. Then I'm going to give a few highlights right here, make it look like it's a little lighter. Now sometimes with a gel pen you have to go over it a few times to get it to look lighter. These are just subtle hints of highlighting. Okay. I even kind of went in here like this, just to give it, again, a little highlight. Now I'm going to do what looks like the rain in this. I'm just going to draw some diagonal lines. Now you'll probably have to go over these a few times. I didn't make them look perfect because after all, rain is not perfect. If you go over them a second time, then you can see more of it. I want it to be hitting the water. There we go. As you can see, you can play with this and add a little more to it. Add some more highlights. Now, Stampin' Up! Has a white chalk marker. I do not have. I need to get, obviously. That might actually work really well for these highlights too. If any of you try the chalk marker with this, please let me know if it works. I just layered that up with another piece of heavy cardstock, and I used the Sentiment Will Weather This Together from the Weather Together stamp set from Stampin' Up. I thought that this would make a lovely sympathy card or kind of a get well card or just a thinking about you card if someone's going through a rough time. I hope this helped you be a little more comfortable with using the landscape stamps from the Waterfront stamp set. If you have any questions, please let me know below the video. I will post a link to all of the supplies used and also have a list of them at the end of this video. Thank you very much.